This is our pitch. Right, the storyline is a detective arrives at the crime scene where a murder has taken place. He psychologically goes back through the crime and relives it in the mindset of the killer, so it allows him to get a better outlook on what's actually happened. It gives him the advantage to get to the bottom of the murder and find out the culprit and who is possible responsible for the actual killing.
Okay, Gabby.
We chose the name Recollection as to recall images and recall things like that. We chose a location. We're shooting in a forest near a school. It's quite private and hardly get the public walking through it, which gives the murderer an advantage and less likely for him to get caught. It also lowers the chances of getting distracted by them during filming. So it means that it gives like a creepy kind of look, and it's kind of a stereotype for murders as it's private.
With the video, we had to think about the 4 areas of media, which are mise en scène, cinematography, editing and sound. For the costumes, we've had to think about the colours of the costumes, and so we've used quite dull colours because typically in a thriller film you wouldn't see bright colours. So for the detective we've used black, dark green, and they're the 2 main colours, and then for the schoolboy we've just used a normal schoolboy uniform, which is white shirt, and black trousers. The facial expressions we thought about, we've made it the murderer. We've given him a balaclava, so we can't actually see his facial expressions, to give a sort of prestigity to make the viewers wonder who it is. And then with Gavin as the detective, we've made him use quite a suspicious, that he's trying to think sort of face. And then obviously with Stephen, the victim, he's obviously going to be using quite scared faces to make him seem vulnerable. The cinematography, for the angles we've used, for the victim, we've used high angle shots to make Stephen seem vulnerable, and make him seem the weaker person in the situation. And then with the detective and the murderer, we've used the opposite to make them seem more higher up. Close-ups have been used of Stephen to show again vulnerability, and we've used close-ups of his body parts. Like for instance, when we use the murderer when he hits him around the leg, we've done that as a close-up to make the viewer understand what's actually happening. For the editing, this is going to have to be done when all the video's finished. But we're going to be using quite dark lighting, like dim lighting, to set the mood of the film. And the transitions between each cut, we're just going to use simple transitions because we looked at other videos with more complex transitions and it didn't look as realistic, so we're just keeping it simple. And for the sound, we're using the whole way through, we're using a tension building, but we're going to add elements of heartbeats to show tension, and in areas we're going to use music sting to make the audience sort of grab their attention if they are starting to get bored.
Alright, Stephen, should we, mate?
So for our props, we only used 4 of them because we wanted to not use too many and not make it seem unrealistic. So the first one we used was masking tape. Now when the victim dies on the floor, we covered him with masking tape around the edge, and then the detective was using the clipboard around that to make notes and stuff. And then we used string and wire, so when the killer kills me, the victim, he wraps around my throat and kills me like that. And also a stick and a log, he hits me around the leg, but just before he strangles me. And that's all we used for props. As a murderer, he wears the same as the detective, except he wears a balaclava. But as a detective, he wears a large green trench coat, black trousers, black shoes, and a grey tie. This sort of shows mystery in his character, so it makes the audience question who he really is and what he's doing there. Me, yeah, and it's typical as well for a detective to wear that sort of clothing. For me, as the victim, I was wearing a school uniform with a white shirt to show like innocence and purity, with a black trousers and black shoes, show like a normal schoolboy, a normal school day, and I was wearing like a black and purple tie as well, and it was from Shenfield, so I was walking back from Shenfield, which is down the road.
Our target audience for this is 15 plus years old.